Hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream update regarding to the Northwestern Railway replica. So, it's been a good while, hasn't it, since me and my good friend Tim Yard did a live stream coverage of our club's construction of the Reverend Audrey's layout. So, it's been a good while, now I think let me see, when did we do this? We did this around about early August, I think it was. Yeah, early August. So yeah, quite a good bit of time has now passed, and I thought it's probably about time that I'll keep you guys updated as to where we are right now with the layout. So where we got to last time, as far as memory serves me, is we got as far as showing you guys the new location for the layout that was in our new location that was given to us by the people who own the building that we based our club in at. So, and as soon as we started moving all the boards in, the first step that we did to get the layout underway again was obviously take up the track at Natford, because the tracks that cross over the baseboard joint weren't properly lined up. So that was the whole idea, that we had to try and make sure tracks all line up okay accordingly. And that's how we ended there. So I've got a few photographs lined up here for you, and I'm going to go through them one by one just to explain to you guys what happened during the time, and up to the point where we are right now. So if I just add up the photographs. Okay, so this is currently where we were at last time. Now this is Natford Junction. Now this is not the island platform is not the actual one we're going to be using. We're going to be making a new one. So this one is just a prototype, just for the moment, just to see what way things are at the moment. And you can just see just behind the coach there the copper clapboards that are just being soldered onto the tracks, and they're just holding up quite nicely there. And we were just busy laying up some track, or getting the track ready to be installed, to finish off this section here on the Thomas's branch line, and have them ready for the copper clad boards as well. Now if I just move to the next slide, there's just a few more shots there. Now also I want to point out as well here, the station building, and also these I think these are from Super Quick, the benches now there, they were among a box of model railway stuff that was donated to the club by, well, as far as I know, it was just an anonymous donator, I think. Oh no, in fact, no, come to think of it, actually, it was actually a past club member who sadly is no longer part with us, because he says that getting time free to attend the club was very difficult for him, but he pops in every now and again, just to leave off, maybe just to see how things are going on, or just to leave off some stuff that he thought might be of any use for us. So amongst the stuff that he brought for us here was the station building and those Super Quick platform benches. There were a few other buildings in that box, but they were all card buildings, and whoever had packed them into the boxes didn't do a very good job, so they were pretty much all squashed and beyond rescue. So that was a real shame. But like I said, these benches and the plastic buildings out there, they were able to be saved, and we can find a good use for them on the layout, and just see what we can come up with. And that's just it there without the coach. So there is going to be a platform surface on top there. We're going to just make up a platform surface, maybe out of card, and then put some sand on top of it as well, just to get a nice dirt grit look to it. Okay, moving on there. So we have both tracks now with the copper clad sleepers on soldered on top. Now this was done shortly after I looked away from them, because the fellow, one of our members who got the copper clad sleepers ready and set to go, and he waited for me to solder them to the tracks, and I just turned away for a bit, and I gave him instructions. Just says, now just skim down the center of the boards, as well as on the sides, just to make sure that there's no shortage of power or electricity out there when we apply power to the tracks. And he actually cut right through the middle of the copper clapboards, which I must actually admit I was actually very surprised. I just says to him, I says, why have you done that? And he says, oh, because that's I just thought that it'll work better that way, and plus we can put the sleepers and all in. And I thought, well, yeah, but we could also just trim down the sleepers maybe in half a bit, just to thin down the sleepers a bit, and that way the tracks are all going to be aligned again. But my predictions of what I expected turned out to come true, because as you see at the bottom of these two tracks, so you can just see there's two rails here, and there's only like one copper clad sleeper screwed underneath them, and it's now been parted thanks to the Dremel. Now because there's only one screw nut there, there's nothing stopping that board from swiveling about. Once the boards are removed, that I have a strong feeling that board would be curving around and will cause those two rails to come out of alignment. And sure enough, it actually did, because there was some bits and bobs being moved about on the lead, and sure enough, the boards get swiveled around a bit. And in fact, also, one of the members actually tried to countersink the screws to make sure they sit in a bit further, and he ended up accidentally cracking the board. In fact, he actually did end up breaking the board, because he was using one of those impact driver screwdrivers, which for those who own one knows exactly that they have a good deal of oomph in them, and these screws certainly made a big oomph into the cap and into the boards. So we did a test with some rolling stock to see if they go over okay. Some did, while some derailed, and we thought, how are we going to solve this? And I said, look, the only other way we can solve this is to replace those boards, because personally, it just kind of felt it just kind of sent a bit of a triggering feeling to me. So later on, which you'll probably see in the photographs, I took up these boards again and resoldered on some new ones. So they look a lot more better now, but yeah, that's just what they would look like before. And so we did the same now as well with the branch line curving off around here. We had to relay some of the cork, because like I said, some of these tracks and all didn't line up all that well, and so we just thought the best way is just to lay some new cork, really. Now here there actually was a bit of a method that one of our members wanted to try out, and I did say to him that his method was not going to work well, because this area here, you can see that the branch line curves off on a tight radius, and I says trying to align that separately with two separate bits of track is going to be very tricky, because you're not going to get a smooth alignment. Because I said, if you use just one long stretch of flexible track, just cut away the sleepers and solder the exposed rails onto the board instead. That way you would have the radius, and you would still have the tracks fixed in the position you want them to. So it makes it more easier for the boards to line up. But he wanted to try his method, and I just says, okay, you go ahead and just try it, and we'll see how it goes. And if it works, fine, we'll use it. But if it doesn't, then we can revert to this other method instead. And of course, it didn't turn out that well. So yeah, we ended up actually replacing that track with a new one. But there you go. That just shows you more of the rails there. And these ones here, I can't remember if this was the track that I suggested with the new thing. I can't remember. But there you go. That just shows you the solder in place. Now, they got me. I was asked to do all the soldering for all this here, so that was a good bit of work in that. One of the members actually did bring in actual copper plates, like actual copper plates for industrial uses out there, and he says, right, let's use this stuff for aligning the tracks. Which we then found out, in order to melt solder on it, we have to put the iron up to an extreme heat, which kind of feared of maybe damaging it. But But we tried it though. We did actually get some tests done okay. However, it didn't look all that good. Plus, the solder didn't really flow that well. It just ended up going all lumpy. So we had to resort to using copper clapboards instead because it just made things a lot more easier for us. So with the track now relayed in this section here, there was a good opportunity to have a bit of a bit of a photo shoot with some of our engines and rolling stock that we have. Among some of the boxes of buildings that there was also a fine collection of model engines that were donated to us. Unfortunately, some of them were broken. In fact, some were broken, requiring repairs, whilst others were just like simple triang rolling stock, which were easy enough to repair. Some required new wheels or new bogies and whatnot, but yeah, they were good for what we needed for the sled, and we often use a knife for loading gauges and platform clearances and so forth. And so you see my street repath replica of Thomas and I just posing with a Mark 1 coach. I think that's from the Model Railway Village set. If you remember back then when they used to do those wee magazine things and you get a free coach with the first issue. That's Tidmouth Yard's Edward and Toby in the background. He's done a fantastic job on those, and I think if you look very carefully in Toby's cab, you can actually see his little figure of the Fat Controller, which is quite nice. Edward, I think, is pulling the Sudrian, or the Wild Nor'Wester, in this pick. Both me and Tidmouth Yard were actually thinking about recreating some of the trains and talking about what carriages and what rolling stock should be required in order to create these trains. So it's good, nice wee bit of discussion there. And it's just a wee bit more there. Nice wee shot there as well. That hill, by the way, we were thinking about maybe rebuilding that hill again, because I think there was some talk about it wasn't lined up to the tunnel board that well. So I don't know what happened there. Just apparently just didn't line up that well. There was a huge gap or so in the middle that needs to be filled in. So the jury's out on it at the moment, so we can't really say exactly what the plan is for it. So there's a couple of more alternative shots there. And then just like an overview of the station. Those coaches, by the way, on the mainline side, those are Hornby Tinplate coaches from Hornby Dublo, and they're ones I brought in because I thought it'd be interesting, just to have some old tinplate stock on the layout, because Revnology did have a couple of tinplate rolling stock on his layout, like some from Bing, which is a very old model railway firm which is no longer made, but he had a couple of rolling stock and wagons from his childhood layout which were incorporated in, and coaches and stuff there were, like I said, also tinplate stuff. In fact, even some of his later rolling stock, like the the stopping passenger train for the suburban trains, they were actually later, I think he used I think they were scratch built, I can't remember, or maybe they were I think they were Jameson's coaches or something, or maybe I can't really remember. I need to look back at the notes again, but but I do know that when the time came for rebuilding the Northwestern layout, when he moved house, he bought some Exley coaches, and they were very good, high quality tinplate coaches, and I've got a few for this layout. In fact, they actually were the same ones, the same type of models used for the original. And those coaches now still exist to this day, actually, because they're now being used as spare coaches for Annie and Clarabelle on the Mark II layout of Farquhar. So there you go. Now, of course, we have the couple cardboards inside the tunnel as well. Can't remember if we trimmed these or not. I need to look back at those again and see. I'm sure we have, though. But we also have to try and lay some couple cardboards on the other side as well for when it comes to making the return loop as well. Also, if you look on the right there edge of the tunnel, you can actually see that gap that I mentioned earlier on. So that'll need to be sorted out at a later stage. I think I might have some thin polystyrene that might fill that in, but I don't know. I suppose we could always maybe just move the hill back just a little bit and then just stick it back into place again. But I don't know. See what the members say. That's a nice wee shot there. That not many of us will get a shot of. Now, during this time as well, this was before I left for Wales to visit the Audio Extravaganza exhibit in August, and I decided to bring Thomas with me as well with my models of Eddie and Clarabelle, because I just wanted to check and see if I got these. If I got Annie and Clarabelle right in terms of size wise, as well as see, like, how does my Thomas compare next to the actual Reverend Orgy's Thomas. And yeah, I must actually admit though, during that weekend, a lot of mysteries and a lot of questions were solved, and in fact, one in particular quite surprised me, as well as some friends at the exhibit. So for those who used to follow me on Twitter, I'm no longer on Twitter now, by the way, would have known that I actually my Thomas engine is actually painted in the exact same shade of blue that the original Thomas was painted in, and I did not know that I had chosen the actual color. So that was a bit of a shock, really. So I didn't know about that. So, but there you go. It was a good, nice little thing to know. But also, this was going to be at the Orgy Extravaganza. It was also my model of Thomas's last tour. Like, I would say it would be its last tour in that livery, because right now it's now been stripped of its paint and is now going through a repaint right now, as well as a few little upgrades as well, because there are some bits on that model that needs to be added onto it there, which I later found out that there were some bits that needed to be added onto the model. But there you go. So when we came back from Wales, this started to take place. This is the board for Tidmouth. Yes, we finally made it to Tidmouth. So Tidmouth's board was then made up in August, and we got to work on getting the framework made up, getting the docks measured out and cut out. And in case you're wondering about the bricks, basically when we were cutting the timber, there was actually one bit of timber that actually had a bit of a bow in it, and because of this, it actually made the boards a bit unlevel, and we were trying to use the bricks to try and bend the timber back into its original shape, back to a straight shape, so that we can get an even surface. And we had these bricks on for like probably maybe for about 2 weeks or so, and it just wasn't working. We didn't know what was wrong. Why was the timber not bending back? And it turned out it was actually one of the braces that we had put on that wasn't entirely straight. So it was a very quick job just to basically replace that and cut a new bit of brace, and that was pretty much it, really. The boards and I completely straight again and level. That was perfect, and so we can move on to the next stage. And you can also see the turntable there from the last stream being located for where it's going to be in later terms. So that just shows you the dock there as well. Hopefully later on we'll have models of Nancy and Violet docked there, so that we can recreate shots like that original photograph that you see of the layout. Sorry, my voice is going here. Hold on a second. Anyway, this section here shows you, or shows me, going through a bit of a headache span, because sometimes during the week I would come down to the club and have a look and see where we're at so far, and try and sort out a few puzzles that we often encountered, and this one in particular, which I was trying to get my head around, which was the location for the points. So we had ordered a whole load of points for the layout. As you can see on the left hand side, I very stupidly requested that we use mainline medium radius turnouts, whereas really the original layout used handmade. All the track on the original layout was handmade, so the Reverend Orgy would have used a different radius for certain sections of the layout. So I wasn't aware of that at the time, and it was only when we got them in the post I laid them out on the layout, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh, how on earth are we gonna do this? This is not gonna work." And I think here, um, this shot here shows you, I think, where we actually ended up, what we ended up using in the end. And yeah, I think this actually did look a lot more. Yeah, I think this is probably what we used in the end. I'm just guessing, really. But yeah, it was a huge headache for us to work around. So we did end up using half of the medium radius points, but for the areas where the dockside is, we actually ended up using small radius turnouts, which I donated to the club because of my mistake, not there because, like I said, it was my mistake. I had to um, fix that, really. So we sent the turnouts back. The ones that we didn't want, we sent them back to the shop and got refunded for them. So that was okay. Um, there was a hiccup with one section. If you just look in the area just on the left hand side to where the brake fan is, you'll see that crossover section of track there. Now, originally that was actually meant to be a single slip turnout or a single slip crossover, and we did buy one. And we were very surprised at the price for one, just for one single slip there. Thank God we didn't get a double slip, otherwise uh, we would be so nervous just to even touch the thing. But we put the single slip on the track on the board, noticing how big it was in terms of lengthwise, and realized that if we did use a single slip, it would mean a huge headache for us to try and position the points in a suitable area without going over the baseboard joint. So, because you can see here, Tim's board, the whole area for Tidmouth is actually on three boards. So you have you have one little small section there on the left hand side, which is where the tunnel will be. You have another board just behind the turntable there. That's a separate board altogether, and then you have the big board itself. So we wanted to have most of the turnouts for Tidmouth to be on the one board, and this single slip was not allowing us to do that. So with the other points, we had to send back the single slip, and we got refunded for that there again. And it was only when I was using some old bits of Hornby track that they were among a bunch of stuff that was donated to us. There was like the old Hornby, I think it was like steel track or whatever that they used during the 1980s. It wasn't really it wasn't usable anymore for our needs. But we use it now for like templating exactly where we're going to use, you know, set track type track. And so there was one of these crossovers in that bundle. I placed it on the board, as you can see here right now, and realized it fitted perfectly. And thought, well, it does mean we're going to be doing a lot more shunting for this area, but it's the only way we can do this. We could have scratch built a single slip, but we don't really know how to do that, really. So, in fact, we wished we could have commissioned somebody to make one for us in that radius, but I don't know if anybody would know or would want to do that. But hey ho. So anyway, that's now. We bought a Pico one of those crossovers. I like I said, I donated the small radius points for that area, and yeah, we got that section all laid out. And you can also see the track around here as well, where the tunnel will be. That's all being laid out as well, with the cork road bed, as you can see there. So the track on the right there, that's actually just a local lay-by or head shunt for when we have any of the shunting engines moving any of the coaches or stuff around, or for any of the big engines if they want to come off the main line or so onto the turntable. That's just, a siding section for them to go on. And so we started, laying the track down in the usual fashion way. So then came the time to see about installing the turntable. And so we cut a hole out for the turntable, got it inserted, and yeah, it was actually quite a nice sight to behold. There's quite a few times where we just took photographs of the engines on the turntable and just seeing how smoothly it turns around and so forth, recreating the scene of James on the turntable from Tenders and Turntables, and yeah, it was quite a good week. quite a good wee setup. So I think this is another attempt at trying to get the point work position right on my behalf. So I think this is definitely what we used in the end. And so I basically took these photographs for reference wise to get an idea as to where everything was. Also, if you look on the left there, you can actually see what was originally meant to be a base for, I think it was meant to be for, is it Violet or Nancy? I can't remember. But I was trying to see if I could make the base for Violet or Nancy, but I think it might have been a bit too big for the dock, so yeah, I just left that aside for the moment for the time being. We still have it though, but just seeing what we can do with it. So yeah, there's a couple more shots there. So yeah, like I said, I just took these photographs just for reference, just to remind me exactly where everything's going to go and how it's going to be positioned on the board when the time comes for us to lay the lay the track. Now, also just behind the coaches there, where that red template track template is, I was thinking about maybe should we add another siding there, because there is going to be a bit of, there is an extra bit of space for another siding, but I think, yeah, we could probably maybe just save that for another time, really. We'll just leave that space open for the time being, and when the time comes to, if we want to add an extra siding in, then, we can do that. So, I'd say that's probably possible, really. And another shot there. And also, yeah, you can actually see one of the XA coaches I mentioned earlier on here that I own. I think that's one of the brake coaches there. So we're actually, I think from this photograph here, we've just started on laying the cork for entering Tidmouth. And we were just basically testing the radius of the curves to make sure all our coaches go around the curves okay without any derailments and what have you. There you go there. A couple of alternative shots there as well. I can't remember what was going on here. I think we were pinning the track down so that we can fix the radius down in place, and as you can see, we've actually drawn on the outside of the track just so we can work out the route as to where it's going, so that we know exactly where it's going there. I think that member, he's actually a huge fan of Great Western, so I think he was just putting that coach on just to see about maybe clearing the distance between the two other coaches, the other coaches there, to see what that's like. But there you go. And I think that section over there is just being pinned down as well. To be honest, I actually don't know what he's pointing at, though. I actually have forgotten. He just seemed to just point at something. So, a bit of time has passed, and my god, the layout looks very tatty, doesn't it? Yeah, I have to apologize about that there. But, yeah, it's like every time we try and work on something on the layout there, everybody just wants to get all the engines and stuff all right and, get photograph opportunities of them being on the layout. So if you can look in that, if you look behind the layout there, you can see that little alcove there, which originally actually was meant to have some shells on that there, but I don't think people got around to actually put some shells in. So I found some scrap wood in the workshop and made up a set of shells for us, and we just use that just to store our rolling stock for the time being, until we can get like proper display cases and all made up. But yeah, it's just how things are looking at the minute. But yeah, there are times where we actually do clean up our workstations on the layout to make sure everything's all presentable and we know where everything is. And I'm just looking at all that wire underneath Natford's board at the moment. My god, that was a nightmare to try and sort out. In fact, actually, right now, all that wire is now literally like being used now as spare wire right now because I've just cut them all off because I did not like wiring that section of the layout a few years back. It was just a sheer nightmare. But I'll get on to the wiring in a wee minute though. But I will talk about a method that I'd managed to establish in the end, which I think will work well for us. Just a couple of more shots out of the layout. We weren't ready yet to do any test running of the layouts of this section of the board just yet. We were waiting until we can get all the track down first, and then we would then start on doing some track tests. So there you go. So yeah, that's the boards now mostly cleaned up. Well, yeah, when I say mostly, they've been nicely cleaned up indeed there, because when was this taken, this photograph? I need to check. Right. I think it's the 26th of October. I think this was taken. Yeah, I think this was during an evening when I wasn't able to come down to the club. I did actually. There were times when I couldn't come down to the club to instruct everybody as to what to do for tonight's evening and so forth, because that's usually my job now as chairman now. But yeah, there were some evenings where I couldn't make it down, so sometimes I would come down, open up the club for everybody, and whoever comes in first, I would just give them the keys and just say, right, could you lock up afterwards, or so forth, and I would give them instructions and so forth as to what to do for everybody. They were passed on to everybody else, and that's what happens. And then I would pick up the keys later on from whoever I left them with. So yeah, the guys done a really good job now of tidying up the boards. So really good job indeed. So here is Thomas in his repaint. In fact, actually, this is not actually the Thomas you saw in the previous photographs. In fact, this is a brand new one that I managed to obtain a few years back. But what I'm doing, what my plan is really, is that due to some recent discoveries I encountered with the model, is that the original Thomas model went through a few changes when Reverend Audrey was still around. In fact, for example, it obviously went through a repaint in the 60s, but it also gained a few upgrades as well. So it had a different chimney, had different features like handrails, cab steps, and so forth. So this one here, this model of Thomas here, I actually want to try and show it as it was during the time of the Northwestern layout was around. So want to keep it all true. Whereas the one you saw in the previous photographs, that's going to be representing Thomas as he was later on, up to present day. So yeah, I think it's quite good to have that, do a different take on replicating this model by having two versions, and having different appearances to show you what it used to look like before and how it now looks like in present day. So this is what Thomas would have looked like in the original guise. He will have his lining and so forth later on, but appearance wise he would look sort of like this. So he would have a different chimney and so forth. And I was also very pleased as well, because this one actually, the chimney on Thomas there, that actually is a genuine Studio Repath chimney. So I'm really pleased to have a model that actually does have this. Now this tool here was a new acquisition that I insisted that we buy, because I've been longing to try and find one of these, or in fact to try and see if there was any way anybody could make one of these. And a YouTuber managed to make one for 3D print, and he's actually selling these now on his online shop. I think his YouTube channel is called Bexhill Model Railways. I think that's what it's called. So in fact, actually, yeah, you can just see it there on the product there, Bexhill Model Railways. So basically, what this is actually a ballast vacuum, and this design is based off a design that was seen in a American Model Railroad magazine from the 1970s. Would you believe? And basically what this vacuum is meant to do is that it's basically meant to vacuum up, vacuum off ballast once you've applied it onto track, but only take away the ballast that you don't want on your track. And in the end, it would leave a very uniform looking bit of track. So I'd seen some videos of people using this vacuum, like, because in this 1970s article, it actually gives you instructions as to how to make it out of brass tube and so forth. But this YouTuber of Bexhill Model Railways managed to make one for 3D print, and he went through several test versions before he perfected it, the design that he wanted, and he he has now put it up for sale now on his shop, and he also gave instructions as to what additional purchases you need to make in order to make um, this vacuum nozzle work. So you need to get like a vacuum cleaner accessories kit in order to make this work properly. Which is absolutely fine. I don't mind it. I don't mind buying it though. But yeah, and overall, this will cost you, like, the whole vacuum set that they're including the nozzle and so forth. That would set you back about £20. So £20 for this feature, but trust me, it was worth the purchase, because I'd seen the tests of it, and I thought, right, we need to try this for ourselves. So I brought it into the club one evening, and I stopped everybody what they were doing. I says, right, guys, I want to show you this piece of genius that I've just found that we're going to be using for ballasting our layout. Because because you can see here, like, the ballast here at Natford it looks okay, but the edges look very scrabby, not really very good, so forth. There's some ballast that's collect over the points, or some collect over the top of the track, some it's not really in the places where it should be. And so I demonstrated how this worked, and they were absolutely so surprised as to how fast it actually, ballast, cleaned off the ballast from the track, but left enough to keep it all, to give it a good appearance. And they thought it was just they thought it was the miracle of for model railway ballasting. So that's what we called it. So we're currently now eager now to try this come the time of ballasting Tidmouth boards. In fact, actually, every time when a new member came, or one of our members who wasn't wasn't with us at the time I was demonstrating this, anytime when they came in, I would bring this out and I would just show them. I would do the whole, shop clock demonstration as to how it works and so forth. By the way, the bottle there just collects all the excess ballast, by the way, just in case you're wondering what it's for. But there was one member, I'm not going to say who it was. He's probably watching the stream now, so I apologize in advance for mentioning this. But he came in one time, and I says to him, I says, "Look, you have to see this. I want to show you. This is going to be absolutely amazing. This is a what's the word? This is a miracle in railway modelling." And I demonstrated the ballasting method, and I says, "What do you think? What do you think? Do you think this is amazing?" And he just went, "Huh." And he just walked off, and I went, "Hang on a second. Do you not witness what I've just shown you here?" And he's like, "Yeah." And even one of the other members who praised this piece of genius, he just says, "Sure, you can just give a bit more, attention for this machine." I says, why are you just saying mad? This is a godsend. To which point he just says, "Well, it's only ballast, isn't it?" And I thought, well, okay, fair dues. Try not making a mountain of a molehill, I suppose. But there you go. But yeah, definitely, if you guys want to do ballasting for your model railways, buy this. I promise you, it'll save you hours. In fact, save you weeks, days, so forth. Anyway, moving on. Moving on from ballasting, because I'm probably going to go on for ages. How far actually am I here with the slides? Oh, not that far off now. We've got a few left now. So, okay, so this is basically the harbour wall now for Tidmouth Pier. Now, there was a bit of talk about what should the walls look like, and one member actually thought about actually making this like a wooden pier of sorts, but he is going to revert to actually just having it just like a stone or a metal appearance for this here, because truth be told, like, we don't actually know what the walls on the original layout for the pier looked like, because the photographs that we used for reference didn't actually show you it. So we looked at various pictures of harbour piers. Some did have like stone walls. I was actually opting to going for the stone wall method, with a couple of tires and all hanging down for like fenders and so forth. But this design here seemed to be the most common that we actually sourced. So we decided to go for this instead. So it's just basically strips of plywood uh, glued onto a bit of board, and they're just being held in place by these off strips as well, just to keep them, secured in place while the glue sets. And yeah, he's done quite a good job actually with it there. Really good job indeed. Now came after we got the track hole laid. The next thing was to get the point mortars installed. Now that was a wee bit tedious because there actually were some areas where it was quite tricky to try and position the point mortar in the correct position in order for it to throw the points in the right direction. There were some areas where we have to use the surface mount point mortars, but hopefully later on we'll disguise them as like maybe platforms for shunters or workmen to switch the points, just to make things a bit more easier, or just had a bit of snake detail, I suppose. But for areas where normal areas, we can use the Pico 10 PL10E with the extended pin, and then trim off the excess once it's installed. There was one point in particular, I can't remember which section it was. It might have been just next to the coaling stage section, where we put the point in, and somehow the tie bar split in half for some reason. I don't know what happened, but somehow it got split in half, and so we had to order in a brand new point to replace it. So that was a bit tedious, and but there were also times as well where the spring inside the tie bar itself to keep the point blades fixed in that position would come loose, and it would then result in us having to lift that, take up the track, lift that point up, try and put that spring back into where it came loose from, put that back into the board, relay the track again, get the points fitted back in again, and hope to God it doesn't come out again. This has happened maybe about 3 or 4 times, but thankfully for the rest of the other points, we didn't have that issue. We still have those ones at the tunnel to have point mortars fitted, but we can leave those for the time being. So, coming back to the copperclad boards, these are the brand new ones that I fitted in, and they actually look a lot more better now. So, I've now soldered them in place. The center of them has been scored now for power to get through and so forth, and yeah, it looks a lot more tidier, a lot more uniform, if I do say so. And then we have the first sets of the surface mount point motors fitted onto the board. We actually marked the tie bars of some of the other points with Tipp-Ex, just so we can identify which areas requires a PL10E, whereas other ones will just have the surface mount point motor fixed in place. Now, people are probably going to be asking, what are these white wires soldered onto the tracks for? Now, this is basically for isolating certain areas of the layout, so that we can hold engines on a certain section of the layout and then have another operation taking place. It's just because for both sections of the board, from Tidmouth and Natford, there's a controller for each of those stations, and the idea is that we want to have the layout operate in a block signal method. If you get my idea, like a block instrument, like what do you call it, block junction maneuver or whatever. So basically, what the idea is that we'll have one person operating Tidmouth, shunting, getting trains ready, and so forth. And when they're ready to send their train off, we're gonna make up some block instruments, like those little box instruments you see in the signal boxes and so forth that have little bells, like bell signals. That's probably the best way to say it. We're gonna try and make up a couple of those, and make up a series of bell codes and that there, so we can tell which train's coming through, so forth. And once those trains are set on the way, we're going to stop that. We're going to stop each train in the tunnel between Knapford and Tidmouth, because that area is now going to be an isolated section where we can hold that train in that section. One controller can turn off the power from uses onto that track, so that the other person can turn on the power from their end and bring that train out of that block section into their area and so forth. So it just makes it a bit more, it's very kind of prototypical, and makes it a bit more interesting for people to choose to see. Plus, it's also a good way for us, to use two controllers and operate two sections at the one time. So there you go. There's a wee shot there. In fact, actually, this is actually behind the scenes of some video footage I think Tim Yard took for Twitter, just to show that this section of Tidmouth was operational. In fact, where Edward and Thomas are at the moment, that actually is operational. Those are the only tracks that we actually did have working at the time. And it just shows you the other setup again. So this is a control panel for Tidmouth. Now, you can buy these panel boxes from eBay, from a laser cutting firm, and the idea is that we're going to have a line diagram of Tidmouth's track layout, and we're going to be operating the points using. Originally we used Pico lever frames for operating the points, but this time around we're going to be using the stud and probe method because it's quick, and it's also easy to install, and it's very quick and cheap. So we decided to go for that method. But for the signals, we're going to be saving the point levers, because we're going to be using them for operating our signals, which I'll mention later on. And as you can see, we've got the panel mount controller fitted into the panel board, and also a nice little engraved nameplate for Tidmouth, so we can tell which section of the layout this control panel is meant to be for. There you go there. So that's just the inside of the box now, so you can see where the controller is inserted. You can see the power circuit board installed there as well as the capacitive discharge unit for distributing power out to the points. Now, I also want to send a huge thanks to I forget his username though, but there was a fellow on Thingiverse who made these little holders for these Gauge Master circuit boards to send the power to these controllers. I do not know how I was going to fit these onto the board. I was trying to figure out certain ways, and I found this on Thingiverse, and I thought, that's exactly what we need for this layout. So I downloaded it and printed it on my printer, and it was a huge godsend for us. So whoever designed them, I might put a message in the name of the person in the description box after the stream, just to let you know who it was that made these. But yeah, it was godsend, absolute godsend. And then you can see the Pico probe pen there. That's just nicely conveniently placed, placed next to the box panel there. So we used some vinyl tape, or pinstripe vinyl tape, to map out the diagram for Tidmouth's board. And after that was done, the next stage was to try and drill holes in the panel board to insert the isolating switches for the isolating sections of the track, and also for the little studs. So there you can see the switches being fitted in, as well as some of the studs, and that's the complete setup. So this has also been done with Knapford's panel board as well. That actually had just been done on Friday night, actually. So yeah, Knapford got his panel board all fed up with the switches and the studs and so forth, all set and ready to be wired up to the points and tracks, which is going to be quite a long time to do on my behalf. But I think I worked out a way as to how to fix it all. Make it a bit more tidier, more presentable for us, and also try and lift a huge weight on my shoulders in terms of wiring up this layout. So the next stage now is signals. So we're going to be using the ratio signals for this layout, and we've got a couple of kits bought and ordered. So this is just one and a couple of the signals that we're going to be using for Tidmouth. We built them on on Tuesday night this week, and yeah, they seem to be okay. There is talk about what way we're going to operate them. We're not going to be using the little lever frame method they have in the kits. We're not going to be using those for this layout, not this time around. But we're going to be operating using point motors instead. Now, I did actually ask Pico about this because I saw one of their products, which is what's the product number? It's PL12, I think it is, where it's basically like a little mounting board for the point motors, and basically there's like a little extended rod or something out there. I think it's just so that if you have a set of points in an area where you can't get a point motor installed on from underneath, you can have it on the surface, and that little rod extends out to the tie bar. It clips onto the tie bar, and that way you can control the layout and so forth, and then you can hide the point motor underneath maybe a bit of scenery or a building or so forth. It's kind of like that there. That's kind of what that really was. But Pico did two versions of this here, because one of them has a spring built inside for turnouts that don't have a center spring to fix them in the turn position. And they also have one which is I have another one called the PL12X, which is just the same thing, but there's no spring with it. So I asked Pico about these, and I says, can these be used for operating signals with the ones with the springs in them? And they got back to me saying yes, because we actually have a few layouts. We actually did have a few of these in the past for some of our previous layouts, and they worked absolutely fine. So yeah, if you want to use point motors, go for that method. So I thought, okay, we might as well try that. But I was also thinking about, well, can it also work with Hatton's point motors? Because I actually did see that Hatton's brought in some point motors which have a right angle crank on them, and I was wondering if they would also be used for signals as well. I did actually ask about this on a model railway group on Facebook, if anybody who had these would know anything much about these, and had a few replies back. One of them said to me, don't use those because they actually have quite a bit of power in them, and if you use them on those signals, you would actually end up breaking the signals doing so. In fact, I think the Haddon's point motors are actually more or less based off the old H&M point motors, which coincidentally Reverend Audrey used those for his Farquhar Mark II layout. So who knows? I might actually end up using them for my replica. But there you go. That's the last photograph of that little show. And yeah, I'm just seeing now your messages here. So apologies, I haven't actually replied to any of your questions here. So right, let's just close that down for a sec. There we go. Okay, let's go through everybody's questions here. I'm sure there's quite a few questions here. Okay, I'll just go through these one at a time here. So, Tales of Soda, could you please upload a track plan showing the part numbers of track pieces used to create the Farquhar Mark I layout? That would be extremely helpful. Right. Basically, you would just need a section of left hand and right hand small radius curved turnouts. There should be a track plan on, I think it's on RM Web somewhere, that somebody actually used both streamline turnouts and set track turnouts for Farquhar. So if you can find that on RM Web, that should help you a lot. But at the moment here, my replica, it's I haven't got a photograph at the moment of the overhead shot of it, so I can't really show you at the moment. But I will get back to you at some stage about that there. So yeah, so keep an eye out in case you might get an email from me or whatnot. Oh yeah, I just want to show this here because it's not really a question. I just really like seeing this comment. Really, thank you, Oliver Featherwing. I'm glad you're a huge fan of Miniature Railway Adventures, and it kind of means so much to me. Like, people acknowledging they like Miniature Railway Adventures, because again, I don't even know if I don't even know if anybody likes it or not. Okay, let's see what else have we got. Oh yeah, let's see. Spencer B adaptations. Is this going to be a one-to-one recreation, or are going to take some creative liberties? Well, as far as we know, the Northwestern Layout Mark One never got. In fact, both versions of Northwestern Railway, built by Revenology, never got finished. So, what you saw in the original photographs, the original black and white photographs, that just shows you the layout as to where he got to. But any of the scenery stuff that you actually saw, that was roughly quickly put together so that it was ready in time for a fate that Revenology promised that I would be ready for. So all the scenery was just like I said, just roughly put together, and all the buildings were like relics from his childhood layout. So they're not really the genuine buildings that he originally wanted for the layout, though. On our replica, we might, deviate by replicating those buildings in a way. But we can take some creative liberties to try and get like an idea as to what he originally wanted or what he originally planned on putting into this layout. But the main aim for this layout is that we want to try and get this finished for the Revenology, with the exception of not including Thomas's branch line. Thomas's branch line is going to be represented as a fill yard instead of continuation from Knapford to Elsbridge and Farquhar, because to be honest, as you can see from the photographs there wasn't really enough space to put those boards in, and I'll be honest with you, like, the swivel gradient going over the boards of Knapford and so forth just doesn't really sit well with us. So we're just gonna exclude those out from this replica. But at some stage, maybe, can't promise anything, maybe we might do a replica of Elsbridge Station to what Revenology originally planned. But that might be an extension for maybe Farquhar Mark II replica. I don't know. Like I said, I can't promise anything, but it's just an idea that we're thinking of. That's just floating above our heads, really. Hello. Here's one from a good friend. Will the trains have faces? If you imagine they have faces, I'm sure they will. Either that or they take the right sort of cool. I don't know. Let's see. But Thomas has a face. Yes, I know he has a face, but I don't know where to continue on further, but yeah. But yeah, really when we're taking it to shows, the engines won't have any faces on them, but maybe we might deviate at times and maybe make some replicas of the engines seen in the books, like book versions of the engines, and maybe give them faces. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Oh, hello. Lucas Nolan, did you happen to figure out the mystery of the several layers of pulpboard at the Audrey weekend? Right, I talked to one of the members at the Telecom Railway who was helping Luke at the event, and he revealed to me that the boards are actually yes, even though Revenology did use pulpboard to make up the top surface for Farquhar Mark II. Basically, he said to me it was meant to be a cheaper way to save him. I think it was meant to be a cheaper way to buy him Sundela board, because I think maybe during back then when he was making Farquhar Mark II, that was actually the sort of board you meant to have. In fact, Farquhar Mark I did have insulation board put on top of it, like on some dealer board put on top. But I think at the time he couldn't get any, so he used pulpboard instead as an alternative, because Sundela is basically made up from recycled card and paper anyway. So I say that's probably why he used pulpboard instead. I have no idea. But yeah, I think for my next attempt, Firecore Mark II, I probably might maybe use Sundealer board or maybe just use plywood, for all I know. Just see what works best, I suppose. But there you go. So yeah, the mystery of the pulp board is solved. Who's this next question from? Auld Lang Syne. Will the trains have faces? Yeah, revert back to what I said for this one. Yeah. I think this is going to be a continuous joke, I think. But I saw Stepney the Bluebell Railway. He had a face and even spoke to me. Good for you. Anyway, let's see. Another question. Same one again. Will Hector the Horrid be featured on the Northwestern Railway replica? No. Is this a replica of Captain Punjab's layout? Actually, to be honest, I must actually confess. Actually, one time I actually did thought about what was the track plan for Captain Punjab's layout, and I think at one stage I did drew what I thought was the track plan, only then to find out in a behind the scenes video that Captain Punjab did, there actually isn't really that much track to be shown. So I don't know. I actually can't remember. I can't remember if Captain Punjab actually did have a complete loop for his layout, or just had like a section of track with one area that was scenic. But I really do not know. I actually really do not know. That's probably up to him to to answer. In fact, I don't actually. I must actually see. Actually, on some stage. I don't know. We'll see. Right, there are a few questions here that I don't think I'll answer, because I think some of these are a bit obscure or go off topic a bit. Let's see. I'll see if I can pick a good one here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's a serious one. Captain Rails. One serious question I have, though, is will this actually be DCC? Will probably be rather convenient for operating multiple trains that way. Well, we talked about this. Because in the early days of planning this layer, I did actually pitch to everybody. It just says, look, if we're going to do a layout, should we have a DC or a DCC? And I did say, with DCC, we'll be able to operate more trains out there. We'll have less wiring to do, except for point motors and stuff like that, because if you DCC points, you'll spend ages typing in the code points only to find out that your train's now derailed at the points. So it's better just to have a switch already at hand. But hang on a second. I better sort something out here for a second. How do I? No, I don't know how at the moment. Sorry, Timmy, I can't make you admin at the minute here. I know I'm just seeing in the text now here. I'm not sure how. Anyway, yeah. So I said to the guys about DCC and all that there, but they said just go with DC because it's more simplistic, and plus some of us want to know how to wire up a DC layout anyway. So I thought, okay, fair dues. Okay. Let's see now. Right. A lot of requests for being an admin on this stream. I don't know. Don't trust Auld Lang Syne. I don't think I will. Well, maybe I won't. Right, let's see. Another question. Right. The Green Beetle, in brackets Drew Scott. What will you use the vacuum for? Yeah, so the vacuum is going to be, if you didn't see earlier on the stream here, basically there's a new tool that we bought for the layout, which is a vacuum attachment, but basically it's for hoovering up sections of ballast that we don't want when we're ballasting the track, and it leaves the rest of the ballast left on the track in a very uniform, tidy like manner, and it just makes things a lot more easier for us. So if you listen back, once the stream's over, if you listen back to when I talk about this, you'll get the full story as to how how I talked about this to some of the club members, as well as the one member who I will not disclose his name, about his reaction to the to the, to this tool. Anyway, yeah, thanks for that question. Okay. Right, there's some questions here I can't really answer though, but right, I think this one might. Tim, if you're again, I'm going to answer one of these questions because this is a question I would actually like to answer. Will there be a backing signal? Now, I don't know exactly whether we should have a mixture of upper quadrant or lower quadrant signals on the layout, but I think it's entirely down to what we want in the end. I think I read somewhere that Reverend Orgy preferred to have his signals go down rather than up. I can't remember where I read that from. It might have been from Christopher Orgy's reading between the lines or somewhere. I can't. I really cannot remember where I read that section from. But I think maybe for entering Natford from the Tidmouth side, we might include an upper quadrant signal. I don't know. I really, really don't know. Because it's a single track leading into a junction station. Of course, it'll have to be a bracket signal. Because when we were planning this later, I actually did get in contact with an actual train driver from British Railways, asking for his advice on signal placement, and I sent him the track plans of our layout, and I says, where would you say the likes of signals and ground signals, where would you say these would be positioned on the layout? And he sent back in this very nice detailed drawing of a response of where would they be placed. And he very conveniently drew in the signals for us. And so we're using it now for reference as for our signal placement. And plus, it also gives us an idea as to what type of signals we need to get, like, in terms of bracket signals, single starters, and so forth. And as well as also the position of ground signals as well. So that's great. I'm glad that that helped us a great deal. But yeah, in terms of recording signals, we'll see about it. We could probably maybe recreate the Percy and the signal event, maybe with live shows, perhaps. We'll see. Okay, oh, there's a question I haven't heard for a long time. Will Boko the Kobo be featured? And also, will he come back to our screens? Again, from Tim of Yard. Oh dear. Actually, Boko will be featured on this layout. I can confirm that during the Audrey extravaganza, a Boko model was bought from a fan that I contacted with. They messaged me saying, "Hey, I've got this Boko model that I don't need anymore. I was wondering, would you like to have it?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll buy it off you." So, yeah, it was bought. It was purchased at the Audrey extravaganza. It's not the original Boko, by the way, because that was safely behind glass. Just so you know. Plus, the box that this one I bought came in, it's very different from the one that the real Boko is in. So I'm sure people in the comments are probably going to be saying, "Oh, he's got the actual Boko." I don't. I've got the same type of model, but so forth. Actually, to be honest, when I was actually at the Audrey extravaganza, I was actually surprised that there actually were other standard gauge locos that Reverend Audrey had for representing its characters I didn't know he had. So that's more to the shopping list for me. So yeah, anyway. Let's see now. Let's have a look at another one here. Was Elsbridge the extra board inserted into the NWR's layered center? Yes. If I actually bring up the actual track plan, let's see if I can find it now. Because, yeah, here we are. Oh. Right, is it on? Yep. Okay, so. Oh, there we go. So as you can see here, in the middle section here, you can actually see this middle board for Thomas's branch line. And you can see that there's actually a 1 in 48 gradient descending up from the quarry, which will then take us up towards Elsbridge. So that's what Revnology originally planned on having, but we did measure this section of the board. Well, basically, when we had the both the Tidmouth and the Nafrit section all like fully assembled out there, we measured the gap in the middle, and it was very clear that there wasn't going to be enough room to put Elsbridge in this layer, because if we wanted to have Thomas's branch line out there, in fact that curve you see just on the left of Elsbridge, we would have to make that a first radius curve, and I don't think there's enough room, even for the likes of a first radius curve, to actually have that inserted in. Plus, if we did put that in, there's going to be a very short space in between the boards out there, even for any of us to stand in. So, plus the room that we're in right now at the moment here, there's only like so much space that we can actually incorporate in. In fact, the layer just about manages to fit in, and there is actually enough room, maybe about a foot and a half or so of space around the exterior, just so that we can walk around it if need be. But yeah, I don't think we're going to model this here. Like I said, we're just going to represent Thomas's branch line as a fiddle yard and so forth, just behind the scenes, and we just like bring various trains out here and there to represent the branch line trains. So, okay, let us know. How is the Mid-Sodo replica layout coming along? Actually, when I was actually preparing this live stream, I actually did come across a photograph of that layout, of our replica in the makings, and it's just a plain board at the moment. What's holding it back in the minute here is that I'm still trying to figure exactly what way we're going to build the top surface of the board. Having seen Mid-Sodo myself, I'm still thinking over about what to do. But once I have figured out, I will contact Tidmouth Yard and we'll sort out a day where we'll meet up and continue on replicating this board. But for the time being, it's just basically just the board itself with a few pen marks here and there as to where certain areas of the track will go, and that's about it really. Nothing else I can say at the moment. But there is some track being gathered up as well, but not a lot. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Do you plan to replicate all the engines, or do you had models of, and will you possibly make models of characters he never made, like Douglas and Bear? Well, let's see. For example, basically, he did have a model of Bear. I just want to point that out. He does have a model of Bear. It's just a standard Hornby trying Hornby model. It hasn't got I don't know if the original one does have a... No, the original one doesn't have the 7101 number. I think that was just made... That number was given specifically for the books itself. I'm not entirely sure. For the likes of Douglas out there, do you know what? I actually am thinking about something for that there. I did tell some of the members of the club what I had plans of doing, but I don't know whether it'll work on that, but we'll see in terms of Donald and Douglas, but we'll I'll get back to you on that. I'll get back to you on that one. But yeah, the idea of getting all the other engines made up, yeah, that is the aim. Because I want, because as well as replicating these models, I also want to learn how these models were made and what can be done to make them. But also learning about how to improve their running as well. Because what I discovered was during the Orgy Extravaganza, when I was given the opportunity to be a member of the staff and help out running and operating Farquhar, which was a huge honor, I must admit. I actually did learn that the OG models don't always run smoothly. They actually do have problems every now and again in terms of running. So when I was making my replicas, I always strive to make them run as smoothly and as they operate exactly as how I want them to. But they sometimes develop problems and sometimes they don't want to run. But that's usually what happens with railway modeling. But I just never took that on board, and it was only when I was operating the Farquhar layout that I actually understand. Oh, yeah, even these models actually have issues running as well. It's specifically Thomas and Percy because they're using old Stuart Repath motors, which are no longer used anymore, or no longer made. So we have to be very careful with those engines when we operate them. But for their age, I mean, they actually do run really well. Percy in particular, I actually never seen a very smooth running engine for a model from the 1940s. That's just amazing, really. But the next model that's currently in the building stages right now, as well as Thomas's repaint and so forth, is Gordon. Gordon is undergoing his chassis upgrade from having the old triangle wheels to having the Romford/Market wheels fitted in place. I actually will see if I can actually find a behind-the-scenes photograph or a photograph of Gordon going through his current stage right now. Let's just see if I can find it. There is a photograph I have somewhere. Is that it? Well, that's one. I might as well. Yeah, I might as well show this one. Okay, let's see. Open that up, open that up. Okay. Yeah, might as well just. Okay, so this is currently my Gordon model in its current state at the moment. Well, sort of in its current state. What's currently happening is I've fitted the Market wheels in the center there. I've yet to replace the front pony truck wheels. But you can see here in the center section of the center wheel crank pin that is used to attach the valve gear mechanism and so forth onto the main side rods. That was originally a screw. And so what I did instead was I actually got like a washer. Actually, basically what the original plan was is that I actually wanted to try and fit a crank pin, use one of the standard Romford crank pins onto that center drive wheel, and then solder a washer onto that there so that it allows that center section to keep spinning around whilst the engine is moving. However, the Market crank pins weren't long enough, so after seeing a photograph of the original Henry model, I actually then discovered that everyone actually made his own extension crank pins by actually getting it was a 10BA threaded rod, I think it was, and just used that instead. Got a washer and just soldered that onto that, and that pretty much fixed that really. So that's currently what Gordon's going through at the moment though. So I'm currently getting some washers and all ordered in to finish that section. So, but once that's done, I will do a test run video of him on the layout. So that's currently it really. That's currently where Gordon is at the moment. Okay, let's see. What's the next one? Okay, what's this one here? Captain Rules again. Even though he never actually made one, would you ever consider making your own Henry Mark I model? In a way, how would you see Audrey actually building one? Well, I do actually have plans, but I can't tell you exactly how I'm going to build it. Because I'm still thinking it out. I'm still thinking it over in my head at the moment. But once I do, I will let you know. I will let you guys know how it's going to go, how it's going to be made. But for now, it's going to be a bit of a secret right now. So, um, mainly because I already don't know right now. But I did actually make some notes as to what how the model would look and how it would be built. But I've still yet to actually try and experiment with that really. Right, let's see. Study and Storyteller. Do you plan to use the Tidmouth to Natford layout in your Branchline Edges project when it's completed later for extra scenes? No. Mainly because, well, first of all, Tidmouth does not feature in Branchline Engines because I have no usage for Tidmouth in Branchline Engines. Natford, on the other hand, will be shown. However, it's not going to be portrayed as the model as Reverend Orgy's model version. It's going to be portrayed a lot more different, a lot more close to the books, sort of. So I can't really go into more details about that really, but yeah, Natford will be featured in Branch Lances, but not the one of this layer, not this layer's version. What the heck is this? Oh, a Khalid mutant, of course. The Daleks were originally organic life forms. I think you've just told me what the Daleks want Davros, haven't you? I think I have. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, what else have we got? John Lair, will you made a replica of the models from the 1953 BBC pilot? I would if I know what the models look like. There's no photographic proof as to what they look like. So how would I know? I don't know what they look like. Anyway, that's about it really. I think for you guys' questions. Yeah, as Captain Rose says, yeah, nobody knows what they look like, so I can't answer that question. Because I really don't know. I don't know what they look like, so I can't tell. Can't tell what they look like. So yeah, I think that's about it really for now. What else? Is there anything else I need to talk about? Oh yeah, John just says that was more of a joke question. Okay, fair dues. That's fine. What else? What else? What else? What else? There was something else I was meant to talk about. What was it? Something important. Something that everybody's been asking for constantly. What was it? Not branchline engines, because that's still a work in progress. Even though filming has resumed this weekend. Yes. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten branchline engines. It's still going. Oh yes, of course. I've now remembered. After a long wait, I have been thinking, and probably maybe late summer or maybe early summer, plans are being put into place for the return of Modeler's Corner. Now, Modeler's Corner is going to be a very different to what we normally do it. I.e., there's going to be a lot more input, I'd say. There's going to be a lot more content that we hope to exploit more, but I don't want to give away as to actually what it's going to be like, other than I just hope you guys like what we're going to try and attempt at doing to make this new style of Modeler's Corner look impressive and so forth. But all I'll say is that Modeler's Corner will be making a return, and hopefully production will start later this summer. But for the time being, it's still up in the air. It's still at planning stages as to what we're going to be doing, who's going to be on Modeler's Corner, and also the return of the gallery is going to be coming back as well. Do you remember the showcase gallery that I did one time? I asked you guys to send your models in. We are now going to bring that back. It's going to be a special feature in each modeler's corner. So if you want to wait, I will do a video announcement, a proper video announcement about Modeler's Corner's return, but it also will give you details as to how, if you want to send your photographs of your models in to be featured in Modeler's Corner, I'll give details exactly as to what to do and so forth. So, yeah, just hang tight and keep an eye out for an announcement video. But yeah, Modeler's Corner is definitely going to be coming back. Like I said, I've been fully rested after taking a year off from Modeler's Corner, because that last one was definitely took quite a lot of modeling skill off me though. But yeah, I'm fully recharged and ready to come back to doing Modeler's Corner again, and yeah, that's about it really. Okay, guys, I'm going to end the stream now here. So again, hope you guys have enjoyed what you've seen so far. I will keep you guys updated as most as I possibly can. The Model Railway Club that the North Western Railway is being built at also has its own YouTube channel. It's called the Crumlin Model Railway Club. I'll leave a link in the description shortly after the stream is ended, as well as the name of the person who we bought that Ballast vacuum from, as well as a few other ones who I probably may have mentioned but forgotten to put the names in. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I'll see you guys pretty soon. Take care, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.